Hello, dear friends. This is the first time in present world that gold has been linked to the official currency of a country. One thing the Red Sea conflict has taught us is that the change is needed in the way we trade around the world. Opinion piece. First step RV. The gold standard returns. Zimbabwe start RV. First gold backing. First golden currency. It is neither physical nor digital. They are backed banknotes to reduce their inflation. The SIG is worth $13.56 to stabilize their economy. The QFS is now official in Italy, building a secure financial system. Let's start. Zimbabwe has adopted a new currency linked to gold to try to stabilize its economy. The Central Bank of Zimbabwe launched this Friday the first world currency backed by gold to replace the Zimbabwe dollar in order to stabilize the country's economy. It is called Zimbabwe Gold or SIG and has an initial value of $13.56 US dollars. The new currency will help simplify monetary and financial relations, providing them with certainty and predictability. Money printing has ruined the domestic dollar, which has lost almost three-quarters of its value this year. According to the president of the Central Bank of Zimbabwe, in quotes, "We want a solid and stable national currency, which will help us print money, since the new currency must be anchored in a stock of reserves of foreign currencies and precious metals, mainly gold, as well as valuable minerals." John Mushayangbahum announced that the new currency will have new notes and coins, and that banks are required to convert their accounts to SIG. It is backed by gold and foreign currencies, and is expected to provide more stability and help curb high inflation, as well as be accepted in other foreign countries as a currency of exchange. In this case, Zimbabwe is no longer trying to mint gold coins, as it did 2 years ago, nor to create a gold-backed digital currency, as it did a year ago. What has happened now is totally different, because it is no longer about creating physical or digital gold coins, but about backing its new banknote money called SIG in gold. This is the first step taken in the world to back physical banknotes in gold, ahead of the great economic powers and forced by the need to reduce inflation. The central bank will set Zimbabwe's gold lending rate at 20%, down from a global high of 130% for the previous currency. Banks will begin converting account balances into the new currency on Friday. It will be put into circulation on Monday at the rate of 13.56 gold pieces per US dollar, CNBC Africa reported. History. 2 years ago, Zimbabwe's central bank began minting gold coins at a time when the value of the currency fell sharply. Each gold coin was equivalent to the price of 1 ounce of gold on the international market, plus 5% for production costs. These coins can be used in stores if they have enough change. The coin was called Mosi wa Dunia, which means the smoke that thunders, and refers to Victoria Falls on the border between Zimbabwe and Zambia. Zimbabwe introduced a multi-currency system involving the use of currencies such as the South African rand, the Botswana pula, the British pound, and the Chinese yuan in 2009, following hyperinflation that hit the country's economy. President Emerson Mnangagwa extended the use of the US dollar for transactions in the national economy until 2030 in order to dispel market concerns about the possible policy change in the multi-currency regime of the African country. The US currency remains the dominant currency in this Southern African country, as the value of the Zimbabwean dollar, which was reintroduced in 2019, has been devalued due to high inflation. A year ago, Zimbabwe's central bank launched a digital currency as legal tender to help stabilize its local currency, the Zimbabwe dollar. Other African countries have explored a central bank digital currency, such as Nigeria, which launched its e-naira in October 2021, but it was not successful because Nigerians prefer cash. Zimbabwe's annual inflation rate accelerated to 55% in March, from more than 47% a month earlier, amid the collapse of the old national currency and the country's economy dependence of the US dollar. The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe also cited problems with the change in payments, including their issuance of the form of coupons or candy. Bookings. Zimbabwe is the second country in the world with the largest gold reserves. It is estimated that 60% of gold is mined artisanally, legally. The gold must be sold to Fidelity Printers, a company controlled by the central bank. The issuance of the coins aims to encourage mining, since those who extract more gold could receive 80% of their payment in stable international currencies. Zimbabwe's central bank has about a ton of gold in its vault and a ton and a half offshore, along with some international currency reserves. However, some economists doubt that the reserves are sufficient to support the SIG due to the lack of confidence among Zimbabwean citizens themselves, who have seen their savings and purchasing power decline in recent years. Revaluation. RV, or currency revaluation, is the process by which the government of central bank of a country adjusts the official exchange rate of its currency in relation to other currencies, increasing its value. This can occur under a fixed or floating exchange rate, as it can have various effects on the national economy, such as an increase in the volume of imports, a decrease in the costs of imports, and a reduction in income from exports, and greater strength of its currency against dollar. Revaluation may form a policy decision taken by a government to correct an external surplus in the balance of payments, or it may be the result of the supply and demand of foreign exchange in a system of flexible exchange rates. Revaluation can also affect the country's competitiveness in the international market, as it can make local products more expensive compared to imported products. In short, the term RV refers to revaluation of a country's currency and is related to the global financial reset, or GCR, which refers to a coordinated revaluation of currencies in multiple countries, with the goal of creating a more global stable economy. For its part, GCR is a program that aims to create a fairer global economy through debt forgiveness, the application of new financial systems, and the promotion of humanitarian projects. QFS in Italy. Within the framework of the work of the G7 under the Italian presidency, the Bank of Italy has organized the workshop Building a Quantum-Safe Financial System. Taking advantage of the principles of quantum mechanics, quantum computing will in the future make it possible to solve computing problems that are currently considered intractable. It will benefit artificial intelligence, chemistry, quantum simulation, optimization methods, machine learning, and many other fields that will be greatly affected by the advancement of quantum computing. In finance, for example, there will be substantial advances in risk management and solvency calculation models. However, the encryption technology currently used for the authentication, transmission, and secure storage of information could be compromised and would seriously jeopardize the stability of the financial system unless it is properly and gradually introduced. This workshop aims to promote cooperation between academia, the financial sector, supervisory associated with the development of quantum computing, in order to raise awareness stakeholders about the need to plan an orderly migration to a quantum-safe world. Gold pattern. The gold standard, also known as the gold exchange standard, was a monetary system in which the value of a currency was directly linked to the value of gold. This system was used by many countries in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. It provided several advantages, such as price stability, balance of payments balance, promotion of international trade, and prevention of financial repression. However, it also had disadvantages, such as a shortage of money, rigid monetary policy, dependence on the supply of gold, and vulnerability to external shocks. The gold standard came under pressure during World War I and was eventually abandoned in favor of fiat money systems, as countries had to print more money than they had in gold reserves in order to finance the war effort, which caused inflation and imbalance in the balance of payments. After the war, attempts were made to restore the gold standard, but without success. The Great Depression and World War II put an end to the gold system. The gold standard is not used today, as most countries have adopted fiat money systems, in which the value of money is determined by supply and demand, rather than being tied to a physical good such as gold. However, gold still plays an important role in the global economy, serving as a store of value, a hedge against inflation, and a safe haven asset in times of economic crisis. Tradition. Gold and money have had a close relationship for thousands of years, so narrow that for many centuries they were the same. Gold was used to pay for goods and services. Later, money was born, which at first was backed by the precious metal. But even when the gold stopped supporting so-called fiat money, its influence on international currencies is very important. For thousands of years, gold was used by humans as a means of payment, first in the form of dust or nuggets, and later as coins minted by different kingdoms. The concept of money changed with the appearance of local currencies and banknotes, which for many years were backed by gold itself. This evolved until it was no longer backed by gold and was based on the trust of citizens in the state that issued it. That is why current currencies are called fiat or fiduciary money, that is, based on trust. However, the gold has never ceased to exert its influence on the value of world currencies. In fact, there is an important correlation between its value and the strength of currencies quoted in international markets. To understand the relationship between gold and international currencies, the characteristics of this precious metal must be taken into account. Gold is a hedge against inflation. The price of gold affects the countries that import and export it. Thus, when a country imports more than it exports, the value of its currency falls, but the value of its currency increases when a country exports more than it imports. Therefore, countries that export gold or that have access to reserves of this precious metal will see their currency acquire greater strength when the price of gold rises, which can even cause a trade surplus or contribute to offsetting a deficit. Conversely, countries that specialize in the manufacture of gold products but lack their own production, such as India, will end up having a much weaker currency when the price of gold rises, as they become net importers. Purchasing gold tends to reduce the value of the currency used to purchase it. This is because central banks rely more on printing money than on increasing their gold reserves, which creates an excess supply of the local currency, which is devalued against other currencies. When central banks buy gold, this affects the supply and demand of the local currency and can ultimately lead to increased inflation. But central banks' confidence in gold is increasing as, in general, times of economic crisis currency devaluation, or hyperinflation, whoever has gold on hand has a treasure. And this is all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.